Okay, my friends, it's going to be a lot of fun today. I can do this in two ways. I can get nasty or I can have a lot of fun with it. I'm going with the fun. This is Anderson Cooper. He did a piece last night on 60 Minutes about the new way of teaching kids. They're going to use an automated tutor. And the teacher will learn from that tutor what the kids are doing, because the tutor is going to be linked to them through their little laptops and stuff. And it will say, this is how long Johnny spent on science or whatever it was. And here's the questions he was asking. Here's where he's confused. Here's where he couldn't answer the questions correctly. And the teacher can get a good handle on what Johnny or whoever it was trying to do and couldn't do, or was doing good and had questions that enhanced his learning. I love that. However, AI is reliant on mainstream academia for their responses. Everything they do, they search the internet for peer-reviewed, accepted, not pseudoscience like I do. But my science is not pseudoscience. My science is real science. DNA tests, CAT scans, specimens, chemistry. The process has all been, it's nucleophilic substitution and invasion. I've done it myself. People all around the world now are finding out about it, and they're very interested. However, it's still suppressed by academia. The only ones, I have to be honest with you, the only ones that are being really jumping up and down about this, it appears to be the Russians. I got a picture of Vladimir Putin holding a mud fossil in his hand, looking at her. I'm telling you, we need to open up education to the alternatives. I'm going to show you what AI says about it and what they say about my work specifically, Mudfossil University. If it was accepted, everything changes. I mean, literally everything. So if they're going to just teach you mainstream, you might as well just say, scrub my brain out and pump in whatever you want. And that's what they're going to do. I like the idea. The idea is fabulous, but they have to be able to allow them to explore these alternatives, which are radical, absolutely radical, crazy, insane. I don't argue that. I'm not arguing that. Real? Yes, 100%. Can I prove it? Yes, 100%. Do I have material evidence? Yes, 100%. Have I looked into this for many, many years? Yes, 100%. Am I willing to speak about it? Am I willing to show my evidence? Am I willing to share it? Yes, 100%. Will I work with AI? Will I work with Khan Academy? Will I work with Trump University or whatever he's going to call it? Absolutely. I just want the evidence to be shown and known and understood. And this peer review is nothing but racketeering to keep us away from the truth so that the funding can keep going and they can use the students to extract the money. Basically, that's what's going on. You come to my university, you pay nothing, and you learn reality. Let's see what Chat has to say about what I teach. Okay, so don't forget now, Chat GPT is going to be espousing only peer-reviewed stuff, because that's what they want. They want to be sure that they have all real, truthful stuff. Now listen to this. I asked if mud fossil theory is correct, what would change in academia? Mud fossil theory, also known as the mud fossil hypothesis, it's all one word, by the way, it's not two words. I made it one word. It's a controversial, largely unaccepted idea in mainstream science. It proposes that many large geological formations, such as mountains, rock formations, even certain types of stone, are actually remains of massive ancient organisms. They don't all have to be massive. A lot of them are, but not all of them. I have stuff here. That's a bone. It's the size of a regular, well, it's a little bigger than a normal bone. That's like a wrist bone from a pretty good sized wrist. Now, I also have the same size as us. That's a lung. That's a left lung. And this is flat as a pancake because of the Great Flood, which Velikovsky recorded so eloquently. This is where the heart sits, right in the back of the left lung, right up there, exactly where it should be. That's the architecture of where the heart was. this has been DNA tested and CAT scanned, and I took the sample from inside. I cleaned it, scraped it, drilled it, and then drilled it again, and took that sample, sent it off to be tested, and 2 other samples that were from giant humans. And I'm good size. One of them was from, I have the hand and the fingers and all that. This Velcro is just to hold this piece together. That piece came off so that I could see the bone here. The bone is here. And this was CAT scanned, DNA tested. Human, Homo sapien, mitochondrial DNA. Same with the lung, and same with the other gigantic finger. You think this one's big? This is a fingertip. And it's actually a right-hand thumb. And the reason I can tell is because the bone is there, and this chunk hangs over. Your thumbs are the only ones that have a chunk hanging over, and this one is from the right hand. I mean, I've done a lot of work on this. This one right here is a toe. That's a toe, and that is the callus of the toe. You see that? And these little white flakes in here, they call those plagioclases. Oh, those basalt plagioclases. No, it's not. It's grip skin. And this is the toe, and this is where the artery side was. It's turned into cornified callus now. And this is where the toenail was. Right here. And all that black blood has bubbled out of here. Because it couldn't, the red blood should have squirted out of this side, and it can't get out. So it blew the black blood out this side, which is your vein blood, and it blew the fingernail right off the top, the toenail right off the top. That's all black, bubbled up blood. This thing died with this toe down this way. And that's the black blood that backed up. Never does that. The only reason it did is because the red couldn't squirt out. The red had a patch on top of it. So it couldn't get out. That's the patch. I got a little pneumatic jackhammer. I think I'm going to take this open because this thing, it weighs a ton. All in here is saturated, I believe, with metals, I know for sure. But how much gold is in here? I don't know. I can see a lot of gold. There's a lot of gold in here. I don't know how much is it really in here, but I'm going to tell you this thing weighs a ton. And gold is quite heavy. So anyway, this is what we should be looking at for reality. Now let's see what Chat has to say. If I'm right about the things I'm showing you, and there's nobody can prove I'm wrong, because I have the DNA tests, I have the CAT scans, I have all that. I've been showing them for 10 years, and I mean that's why I get very frustrated, and sometimes I get a little combative. I can be kind of nasty. But what do you do after all this time? So anyway, if they're going to start teaching kids with robots, that robot better be able to understand that there's not just one story here. Let the kids make up their own mind when they see the difference. If the real professionals won't look into it, let our minds think what's right, and then we can discuss it. Otherwise, this is nothing more than automated indoctrination, this new AI robot tutoring. It's just not going to work. All it is Menticide on steroids. You see, there's President Putin. He's looking at a rock like this, thinking, wow, I wonder how that happened. Well, we got meat. We got new species of humans, basically. And I have at least 3 or 4 different styles, and they're not the same, but they're close to humans. And I have DNA tests and CAT scans and specimens of giant human beings. So I have the evidence. Now let's see what AI says about my work and what would change if it was looked into, because it hasn't been looked into. That's the problem. Its peer review has destroyed everything as far as reality goes, actually. Okay, let's take this one step at a time. I asked what would change if mud fossil theory was looked into in academia. And it said mud fossil theory, also known as mud fossil hypothesis, is a controversial and largely unaccepted idea in mainstream science. It proposes that many large geological formations, such as mountains, rock formations, even certain types of stone, are actually remains of massive ancient organisms, which I have shown you, and I will show you much, much more. Now, the proponents of the theory suggest, proponent just means the people that advocate for it, to say, yes, this is true. The proponents of the theory suggest that through a process of chemical and biological transformation, it's called nucleophilic substitution and invasion, primarily by transition metal complexes. This process of chemical and biological transformation, the tissues of these organisms, including bones, muscle, and skin, become petrified and turned into rock-like structures over millions of years. No, not true. Very quickly. It didn't take long at all to make these into rock-like structures. There is no millions of years here. My stuff, the oldest thing I have here is about 3,700 years old. Although there might be stuff that's older than that, because I go back to the flood. I don't really think I have anything pre-flood here, although I don't know. But all my stuff is from the flood. That's what caused the nucleophilic invasion with the silica-rich ocean floodwaters, causing the Triassic layer, the three layers, the red bed, the gray clay, the black cap. Shown this many times. And this has to be presented and then discussed. Now, the idea is based on the observation of some geological formations, especially those that are unusually shaped or exhibit peculiar features, like calluses, like toenails, like blood vessels and blood coming out of them. Yes, those are unusual. Especially those that are unusually shaped or exhibit peculiar features could be interpreted as having once been part of a giant organism. For example, proponents argue that certain mountain ranges could be the remains of ancient colossal creatures whose bodies underwent transformation into stone through natural processes such as mineralization and fossilization. Exactly. That's exactly correct. The mud fossil theory is not widely accepted in scientific community, and it stands in stark contrast to the established understanding of geology, paleontology, evolutionary biology, everything, history, everything. However, if this theory were proven to be correct, it could have profound implications across various academic disciplines. 100% of them, everything is wrong. Let's explore some of the potential changes in academia. This will blow you away if mud fossil gained acceptance, which it has to. There's no getting away from it. Now, what is going to happen? Revised theories of rock formation. How did rocks form? Well, they know now how they rock. Even Yale has a paper out about exceptionally preserved soft-bodied creatures due to silica-rich oceans, which is the stuff I gave to them years earlier. And then they wrote the paper on it and took credit for it. And NASA funded them. That's what this whole boondoggle is about. Now, alternative view of fossilization. No, it's not alternative anymore. They realize this stuff, how it happened. They say, well, we don't understand it. Well, they didn't have to talk to me. I understand it. So this is the alternative, how leading to formation of rock-like structures from living organisms. Yes. Paleontology and evolutionary biology, all wrong. Reevaluation of the fossil record. The fossil record is totally wrong. If mountain ranges are not laid sedimentary one after the other, a million years, 2 million, 3 million, 5 million, I say they were laid down in 15 minutes, a couple of hours, bloop, the thing's dead. And then starts to become a mountain range. The sedimentary fossils is crazy, insanity. New view of extinct species. I'm showing, like yesterday, I showed what could have been a naga. I'm showing, well, I showed, hold on, let me be sure you see this. I don't want this not understood. New species, yes. No toes, all kinds of stuff we have of new species. They have springs inside the feet instead of bones. I got all kinds of stuff. Now, the revision of the timeline of life on Earth is all crazy because the flood took place 3,700 years ago. Velikovsky had this extremely well recorded from 100% of the cultures on Earth. 100% had the same story. 7 days a fiery comet approached the Earth, scorched the Earth, literally boiled the oceans, which is what created the red bed, because it boiled the flesh off the creatures, and it settled to a muddy red bed, clay bed, which I have here. And then on top of that, the organs and all the other matrix collected on top of that. But so the first thing was the boiled off flesh. Then the organs and things settled on the next layer. And then all the fallout from the ash and fires and burning and volcanoes and all that. Because the Earth almost got hit. It got wrenched. It literally stopped spinning for a day. And then it started back up again. You say, well, Roger, why would it start back up again? I can explain that too. Dipole electron flood theory, I'm going to show you what Chat has to say about that too. If that's correct, 100% of physics changes. And it is correct, and I show it's correct. Again, I'm a material scientist. I just showed you mud fossils. I will show you the light research. But let's just go on with this. All of this changes. Anthropology, human history, all different. New interpretations, mythology and legends, they were all basically true. Revision of human prehistory. We have no clue about this because we just laughed at all these people. Biological and cellular science, all of that stuff has to be re-understood because of, I discovered the fascia, the fluid-filled highway, which is the interstitium, which is the fascia that coats all these organisms, has a layer of bacteria and enzymes in it that protects that. That's why there's over 100 cancers. Every sac, every organism, like where's my lung here? This is why we got to do this. We got to understand reality. That's a lung. You see that? You see all that fabric that's wrapping that? That's just like a plastic bag. All day long you go, this is extremely tough fabric. And it just goes out and back. Now, it's sealed in one complete package. There's nothing can get into this that it's not supposed to get in. That's what a membrane does. Now, I have found at the very tip, I call that the spurlock, because at the very tip it latches into the body, and that's where the fluids transfer. And this has different chemistry than your heart, than your kidneys, your prostate, whatever other organs in your body. We need to know what bacteria lives in each one of these sacs. Right now, biology, medicine, all of that has to be changed. We have to, because the reason you have over 100 cancers, every cancer is invasion through that membrane. And everyone has its own membrane. And every membrane is different. It depends on where it is in the body. We have to understand this and then investigate that. That's what education is. Not, that's a membrane, yes, and it separates your lung from the rest of the cytoplasm in your body. Now, going on to the toenails, they grow on your feet. All right, anyway. The philosophy of science. There's no questioning anymore. There is no questioning. There is no scientific method. The perception of science. Listen to this. Here's the key. Here's the key. Public perception of science. This is the problem. Popularization of pseudoscience. They're saying, oh, these guys are going to take over and the pseudo-wacko jobs are going to take over science. Well, I'm not a pseudo-wacko job. I understand the Earth is a globe. I understand there's space and things spin around in space. And I understand material science. I understand chemistry. I understand biology. I understand anatomy. I understand the ancient texts. If you don't understand all those, you don't understand anything. Because if you got to say, oh, you got to go see Professor Ichabod Bottomus about that. No. I want to talk to you about it. Why can't you tell me? Or get him in here and you both tell me at the same time. I don't want to have to go see him and then come back and see you and then go see somebody else. And that's what I was told at Yale. Oh, you should talk to Derek Briggs. I said, well, fine, I'll talk to Derek Briggs. I talked to him and it was just an absolute nightmare from then on. And then he took credit for my work. I told him all about the mud fossils. I told him I had the DNA tests, the CAT scans, the specimens. Oh, they're nothing but rocks. Go find a geologist is what he told me. That's Yale University. It's time to change. Now, here's what they say about my stuff. See, well, let's just go back to this. Here's the key. On a societal level, the acceptance of mud fossil theory could blur the lines between established scientific consensus and fringe theories. I'm the fringe nut job. While mainstream science typically treats theories like mud fossil theory as pseudoscientific, a shift in academic opinion could cause confusion among the public. Yes, it should. They should be confused. Why are they listening to these people? They have no evidence. None whatsoever. I have all the evidence and they won't accept it. Or they won't even look at it. So that tells you the story. Now, so it could, a shift in academic cause confusion among the public. People might begin to question established scientific knowledge more broadly. Yeah, time. It is time, leading to greater skepticism or distrust of scientific institutions. Absolutely. You can't trust them. I've got all the evidence, so come to me. I can tell you, you cannot trust them. Rise in alternative theories. A significant change in academic regarding mud fossil theory might encourage more widespread belief in alternative speculative theories about Earth's past, potentially overshadowing traditional scientific views. Absolutely it will, because it's true and it's spectacular. Challenges to mud fossil theories. Here's what listen, this is not peer reviewed. Despite intriguing possibilities that mud fossil raises, there are many challenges to facing gain of assessment. Lack of empirical evidence. No, I have all the empirical evidence and they have none. Mainstream science argues there is insufficient empirical evidence to support the idea that the geological formation of remains of ancient giant organisms. Most of the evidence provided by mud fossil proponents is anecdotal or based on visual similarities rather than rigorous scientific analysis. DNA, CAT scans, chemistry, specimens. That is as rigorous as it gets, my friend. This is where they have polluted reality by saying, no, we won't test it. So it doesn't have any, it's never been tested, so there is no rigorous scientific analysis. Viability of biological transformation. The theory proposes mechanisms that do not align with established principles of biology, chemistry, and geology. No, Yale wrote the paper that I gave them, and they agree that these things turn into stone very quickly. The process by which biological tissue could transform into stone is not well understood and would require extraordinary evidence to support it. I have done it. You can do it. It's easy to do. It happened because of the boiling hot waters in the flood. Peer review of science, to be accepted to peer review and scientific consensus. I get upset about this. I'm sorry. I'm going to try to slow down. Okay, Roger, slow down. To be accepted in academia, the mud fossil theory would need to undergo rigorous peer review and must present convincing, repeatable evidence to challenge the existing paradigm of geology, biology, paleontology, and all the rest, history. Now here's the conclusion. If mud fossil theory were proven correct, it could lead to dramatic shifts in multiple academic fields, particularly geology, paleontology, biology, history, chemical invasion, all of that stuff. It would change our understanding of Earth's history, the fossilization process, the nature of ancient life on Earth. However, the theory faces significant hurdles in terms of empirical validation, would require extensive overhaul of scientific models. Every scientific model has to change. Given its current status as a fringe theory, a shift in academia toward its acceptance would be a monumental scientific revolution. Monumental scientific revolution changes everything. It would also face significant skepticism and resistance to the absence of compelling evidence, and it challenges to establish scientific norms. It challenges everything because everything is wrong. I have shown the evidence. I have the DNA test. I have the CAT scan. It's repeatable. It's testable. They say, oh, we'll do it again, do it again, do it again, do it again. No, I'm not going to do it again over and over. I did 3 already, and I have 7 CAT scans. I have all the specimens. This is true stuff. Now, if somebody wants to come and put up the money and do the work and test them, I'm 100% willing. You come here on site, you do the extraction, take it, go off, do whatever you want with it. And I have other stuff that's even more spectacular than the things I'm showing you, like these things that I've already had tested. I got other stuff here that it's off the charts crazy, but it's true. This is the key. The academic mind is so restricted, and it's not only restricted by, basically, as I can see now, is incompetence, but it's restricted by the ability to speak against the peer, which is the peer system. And they say, no, you say that, you're done, get out of here, that guy's crazy. And they all sit around having their little cocktails and so forth, saying, boy, he's nuts. You hear that guy talking about giants, God, religion, oh, what a dirtbag he is. Put him in the back, give him room 37 on this 5th floor. That's where all the whack jobs are. Okay, so we've talked about mud fossils. We know we got an issue with mud fossil geology, history, anthropology, all that stuff. Paleontology, very, very wrong. Also, chemistry and subatomic physics, extremely wrong. This is what the nucleus of every atom looks like, and this would be a proton. And this particular one would be a hydrogen, which is just one single proton. All the dark parts go to the center, and they each have a white counterpart, which is the only two particles that exist. It's called dipole electron flood theory. And these are the only two that exist, and they can come in as just the white all by itself. That's electricity. It has no weight and all the energy. You fill up your car with electricity, it gains no weight whatsoever. You drive it all day long, it goes to zero, it has lost no weight. It never changes weight. This has no weight, but when you fill it up with electricity, it wants to get back to this black part so bad that it will make your tires go spin and smoke up and everything else. That will it will burn right through you and explode your body to get back to here. That's what lightning is, static, electricity, right to ground. Under our feet is the dark matter. This is the only stuff that has any form to it. The white collects around it. We see these dark holes in space, but the dark hole is nothing more than free dark particles. And the Russians did this in 2015. I watched this experiment very closely. Very, very interesting. I got to tell you, the Russians, they seem to think more than the Americans. I had zero. They want me to go on Russian TV or something. I got a Russian friend that keeps saying, they're going wild over there about this stuff. Come on. He wants to translate everything into Russian. I say, yeah, go ahead. That's fine. And I might go ahead and they want to do some kind of an interview. That's what he was saying. And I'm up for that, as long as we keep it real and we talk about my research. And I don't care about geopolitics and all that. I don't like to see wars. The whole world is a mess. I'm not going to get into that because it's just a disastrous mess. Now, what would make things better? I think reality, some understanding that the ancient past that we thought we knew is not what we know, and it was much more complicated, and there does appear to be going to be an eternity, and I think you can go this way or that way. So you better understand that route and that route. Then you make your own decision. I don't care which way you go. But if you don't have the knowledge to make a decision, then the decision is invalid. It has no consequence whatsoever. Now, we know that that's what an electron really is. The gluon, the dark part, which is the muon, that has all the weight. We never knew it was there before. This has no weight whatsoever. I show this when the atomic bomb goes off. The white particles hit first, and the house just smokes up. And then a second later, boom, the black comes, the house goes. That's what an atomic bomb is separate those two. It's just like electricity in air. These are what photons are. We show those very clearly. I've shown those in my research. All right? And all other matter is made of these basic particles, and as CERN splits protons, the end result is muons and electron showers and a zoo of other particles, because they're hitting things like this. And when they splash, they go all over the place, and they see chunks of garbage everywhere. We started with light, so we didn't have to go look through all this stuff. They get a shower and a zoo of particles in other quantities. They all contain only the muons and electron neutrinos. Sometimes they're this big, sometimes they're that big, sometimes there's only one of them, or two of them, or three of them, or whatever, because they're just splashed into smashed to bits. These are all the changes. So now, if this isn't presented along with all the other peer-reviewed stuff, they're never going to have any knowledge of it. They know right now, there's no question whatsoever that the standard model doesn't work. They can't explain gravity. They can't explain dark matter, which is basically everything. It's just they're totally lost. They think that the speed of light never changes. We show all of that stuff is wrong. I could show the particle. I could show the wave because it's the magnetic field that surrounds the particle. I have shown all of this stuff. For them not to pay attention to this, not only is it a disaster to the kids' minds because they're not being allowed to see this, it's a disaster to the bottom line of our economy because they're spending billions and billions and billions of dollars doing this research where it's already been done, and this space research, oh, we're still looking for life in space. They got asteroid Bennu right here on Earth right now. The particles from that are biology. I can prove it. It's proven already. The phosphate surprise was layers of membranes. In between those membranes was muscle sarcomeres. I know what I'm doing. I'm not guessing, my friends. And they know this right now. They know it's all the chemistry of bloody tissue, which Bennu is a heart. It's a heart. No question about this. Zero. All right, so right up the front, we talked about mud fossils, and that would change literally everything in that realm. Now, what about this one? This time I'm going to ask it about dipole electron flood theory. If Roger Spur's dipole electron flood theory is correct, what would change in physics?
It seems like you may be referring to a concept called Roger Sperry's dipole electron flood theory.
See, this
However, to my knowledge,
somebody changed this because they had this in here with me. Now they got somebody else. Roger Sperry, a renowned neurobiologist, not so. Dipole electron does not appear to be a well-established concept. Unbelievable. If a new theory such as dipole, well, actually it's talking about it here. Hold on. Let's see what they have to say. Let me make sure they're talking about the right thing here. Hold on. All right, I just want you to know, I go way back with this. I was in the Army, and I was in Nike Hercules missile sites. I used to maintain them. And I took a big interest in this, and I went into physics after I got out of the Army. And my theory was that there's two types of dipole-dipole intermolecular forces. And there's polar and non-polar, but they're both dipoles, dipole-dipole interactions. Magnetic properties, they're all about dipoles. And this goes back to 1968 to 70. Where's my other stuff here? Just somewhere. Hold on one second. Oh, here it is. This was like, these were papers I was writing on about, really deep analysis of dipoles, dipole moments, dipoles. Everything was bonding and dipole this and that, and angles and distances and orbitals. And I came to the conclusion that everything was electrostatic and it was all dipoles. And this was my premier statement about this, is that transfer of energy is from light to atomic vapor. All energy is atomic vapor. That's all energy is. Sometimes it's motionless and it's potentially going to become energy, and sometimes it's moving. They call that kinetic energy. It's in the moving. It's moving, doing something. So it's, and even some of the ancient texts talk about we are from light, and light is movement and repose. In other words, it can do something as energy, or it can just sit around and do nothing, like most human beings. All right, so I'm showing you that. I ain't bragging if it's true, and it's true. So, what would dipole electron flood theory mean? It's everything. It would change everything. They have to modify. Well, here, let me see what it says here. Hold on. Hypothetical changes in physics from a dipole electron flood theory. If a new theory such as dipole electron flood were established, it would likely fall within the domains of quantum mechanics, electrotheory, particle physics. It's everything. Here's how it could change the field of physics. It would revolutionize our understanding of electromagnetic forces. Totally different than everything. New views on electromagnetic interactions. If the theory suggests electrons themselves behave as part of some dipole structure, no, there's not some, it is a dipole, black and a white particle. It could significantly alter our understanding of magnetic fields, electric fields, magnetic fields interact. They're the same thing. Magnetic fields and electric fields, they're the same thing. Traditional electromagnetism, as described by Maxwell's equations, assumes that charge and current produce electric and magnetic fields. A new framework might propose that electrons don't just produce simple fields, but engage in more complex behaviors that resemble dipole radiation or field interactions. All electricity is all field interactions. It's push to shove, I call it. Field against field. They repel each other. And if there is no field, it's just a black particle. It slams into it like a Mack truck. That's what electricity is. The black, it just sits there, just laying around. And another black can just lay around with it. They don't care about being next to each other. They attract only. And they move. The dark energy is the movement of the black particle. That's dark energy. If it just sits there, it's just mass. And then the white, if there's a free white one laying around, like electricity, lightning, static, bam. Because Earth is literally made of dark matter. We're standing on dark matter right now. The white matter has no mass. It has no mass. The energy part has no mass. I've shown this over and over and over. The dark particle is where they say, well, we're missing all of the mass in the universe. Well, what are we standing on? We're standing on that mass that they're missing because it's entangled with the white particles in a crust that surrounds the Earth. The deeper and the deeper and the deeper you get into the crust, the more and more crushed the black particles are in with the white particles. And at some point, I could see where the white particles wouldn't be there, and you'd have a black mass in the center of the Earth all pushed in. Because I saw the Russians did an experiment. It was very close to that. I'll show you that in a minute. As a matter of fact, let me show it to you now or I'll forget. All right, let's just start off with the basics. CERN, Fermilab, Lawrence Livermore, all of them are smashing huge things together. And then they get all this debris. They call it a particle zoo. They have no idea what is anything. It's just all the debris. They see bigger particles, smaller particles, X particles, and they give them all a name, and they go on about their business. We started with this. We started with these particles here, these little bitty ones. We didn't have to look through all of the debris. And I can show you this very carefully, and I might as well show you now. Okay, this is from Fermilab. These are the Fermilab pictures that was in their article, taken directly from their article. This has no mass and has a very strong field. This has all the mass. It's called a fixed particle, has a glowy edge. They have seen these, and they say they're the smallest particles. They have no clue where they came from. We started with these. This is light. Now, what happens when light, this is what light's made of, is these two particles. Which every electron is made out of those two. Gluons are made out of those two. This one glues onto that one. The black ones don't mind being next to each other. The white ones hate each other. They will push and shove each other, but they will attract like crazy to the black. So they end up building a field around the black, just surrounding it like a crust, like an eggshell. But when you shoot light, you're not up to that eggshell yet. You're way down here. So we can see the particles. And all they are is two little bar magnets back to back, basically. However, the black can separate from the white. And they have seen it separate because they see them here, black and white separated. They don't know what to make of it. Well, we know exactly what to make of it because when we hit our Venturi, they broke apart. That's the Venturi right there. This is light accelerating. Nobody can tell me that's not accelerating. I can show you it just looking like a wave because the particle is back in here and the field surrounds it. So the wave pushes everybody else out of the way as it comes forward. And then right there it explodes. What does that mean? Well, what is fission? Fission means to break something apart. And what is fusion? It means to put something back together. Well, we can obviously see they were stuck together. There's no question whatsoever about that. And that's what light is. That's a photon. And they see it in their own experiments too. They see the photons. They just don't know that they're actually photons. We actually separated these two particles that were black and white together. The black goes on its own and just stays like the black. The white turns into a shower. There it is right there. That is fission. The black came away from the white. There's no other way to describe that. You figure a way to describe it, you describe it for me. Oh, no, that's a refractivity. They come up with all kinds of crazy names. It means nothing. This is, we saw the particle emitted from a pulsed red laser. Zip, 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 coming out of there. We saw the actual exact same particles that they see at Fermilab. We see the leading one concussing with the tiny little particles that are in the air that have their own fields. So it's field to field. And this is using CMOS. And I went to the University of Geneva and I told them this, we did this. And I also talked to Don Lincoln at Fermilab, who has got me blocked. I can't speak to anybody there anymore for years. And I got me blocked from everywhere. I'm just not allowed to speak about this because I've upended them. This is every single word they said. I have shown I have the evidence to support my statements that we created fission and fusion and raw energy. And if this was used correctly, I can see that raw energy being used to create free energy. Normally you have to rip that white away from the black, something terrible. It's almost impossible. That's the strong nuclear force. That's where they're held together. You can't hardly get them apart. But when we put them through the Venturi, it was so tight that only the white ones could squirt. Because see how they can get big or small? The black one's fixed. And that's exactly what they call it, fixed particle. Can't get bigger, can't get smaller. And it's just a black particle. And the white pulls itself to that, which is gravity. Our Earth is saturated with these black particles. I believe there's got to be more of the black in the Earth than there is white, obviously, because the white, zip, static, right to Earth. Lightning, and it'll explode trees. It's crazy. It's just nothing but energy. There's no mass to it. It's just energy. And the same thing happens in a nuclear bomb when the house just smokes up and then because the first thing to hit it is the white particle because they surround all of the black. So the white goes out first, then the black comes, the house goes down. But originally, as the white hits it, it just smokes up, and then the house gets smashed to bits. Keep showing this over and over and over. I'm blocked. I can't speak to anybody in the United States about this stuff. They won't allow it. See, the Russians did this. They didn't realize they did it. They had charged particles in a vacuum chamber up into space. And when they injected them in here, everything was floating around, and after a while it started to bounce like this, and then all of the black particles were crunched into the center, surrounded by the white ones. The guys on Earth couldn't believe it either. They're, whoa, what the hell is this? They had expected them to push each other away into a box-like lattice configuration. And they ended up with this, and they were freaked out. Now I know exactly why this is happening. It's because the black particles can be pushed to the center, and the white ones will surround it. So they made this, and I contacted the Russians about this because I knew what was going on there, and I contacted Don Lincoln at the same time, and he sent back a very arrogant, reply. And anyway, but the Russians, I've talked to Russians a few times, and as far as I'm concerned, they're good scientists. They don't run away from things. Now, Putin, as he was holding mud fossil looking at it. I don't know. And my friend from Russia, he tells me that they're wild about this stuff over there. I don't know. I have no idea. I don't want anything to do with any politics or any of that stuff, and I don't travel. I don't want to travel. I can do everything I need to do from here. I don't have to see this stuff. I don't have to touch it. I have so many people doing research for me now, it's just ridiculous. And other people, they're not doing research for me. They're just out walking around in these caves saying, wow, look at this, look at this. Look. And then other people are talking about, you know, they realized that all of this physics stuff is just nonsense. It was just all wrong. And it's about funding now, because they've spent billions and trillions of our dollars. Like at Fermilab, for 10 years. I showed this to Don Lincoln 10 years ago, and then he blocked me. And I don't know, I know their budget is got to be billions and billions a year. Same thing with NASA. NASA went to Bennu, asteroid Bennu. I said, that's a heart. No question, it's a heart. And you got the sarcomeres, you got everything. They're going to study that for years and years. They already spent way over $1 billion to get the sample here, and then they can't deal with the reality. That's the problem. See, these are the actual photons. These are as they're increasing energy. And then when they get to this phase here, because of the backfeed, they explode into the photon phase. You won't hear any of this if you go through AI, automated intelligence. You won't see any of this. You'll never know any of this happened. And we separated the muons from the electron neutrinos right here. Fission, fusion, raw electricity. And then here's Putin. He's looking at the mud fossils saying, wow, look at that. Wow, look at that. I wonder what that is. Well, I can help you. It's a crazy world, my friends. And the mud fossil is quite real. And all the things I've been showing, and if we can get to this point where we have free energy, what could be better than that? You saw how the particles separate. We got raw electricity. That has no weight whatsoever. If we could collect that with like right here, the laser shoots it through, the black stays to the side. All we want is the white. That's what you want to put in your battery. You don't want the black. We're just doing it all by itself. We don't add anything whatsoever. There's a subatomic nuclear explosion going on right there. Fission, nothing but raw energy, and fusion. Comes back to being a particle. And if we could harvest it before it comes back to being a particle, then we can send it through our circuitry and let it get back to the black side. And then, because it's going to be attracted to a sink. It's going to be attracted to a ground. It's called a floating ground. You carry it around with you. The ground goes with this, and it finds its way back to ground. And in the meantime, you go all through you want, do your electricity. That's what you could do here. Any voltage you want, any amperage. I mean, you know, frequency, all of that stuff. It depends on how strong we can get out of there. I don't know. Originally, I had thought you're going to get 200 times or so the energy if you could separate the black from the white. And I still think it's probably somewhere around there. So if you started with 5 watts and you got 1,000 over here, you got 900 and something watts of free electricity extra that's going down into your batteries or out to your car or you heat your house or whatever. You carry it around in a lunchbox like this. This is the stuff they will not hear about if you go through peer-reviewed stuff, because they say I have no evidence of my stuff. I'm showing physical evidence of everything that I have talked about. I make no claims whatsoever unless I have something to back me up. Unlike academia, they have literally nothing. They have these theories that just don't hold water anymore. None. Zero. As far as I'm showing, let me show you what AI says about this. If this is correct, that whole physics field is totally gone. So now we know mud fossils changes everything in history and evolution and probably religion, everything else, the whole 9 yards. Eternity, that's pretty serious stuff. Now let's see what it says about this. Okay, so don't forget, you've seen what I just showed you as far as the evidence to support dipole electron flood theory. Now, they're saying this would change everything, revolutionize our understanding of electromagnetic forces. Everything changes. dipole dynamics in matter, quantum states, electron distribution, material properties, magnetism and electricity, new insights in quantum field theory. Quantum field, they have no idea right now. They're talking about every kind of nonsense particle they can think of. And they will refuse to look at my stuff. Electron dipoles in quantum field theory. Quantum electrodynamics would all change. Dipole structure, they have to understand how it's structured. Virtual particle interactions. Vacuum state, there is no vacuum in space. Space is saturated with particles. Secondary, light is a particle. The light comes to us from space, so there's, between here and there, it's saturated with light, which is particles. They don't glow as they're moving through a sparse thing in space. They sort of bounce around each other's fields a little bit. They normally don't hit head on, but if they do hit head on, you get a little bit of a glow. That's why you can see a little glow out there, I think. But the deal with fields is they're like basketballs, like balloons. And they come and they bounce their field off. They don't hit like that and flatten a balloon to the other balloon. No, that's not normally the case. Normally they sort of bounce themselves here this way or that way. So anyway, let's continue on with this. All of these things change. Electron-proton, electron-photon interactions. A new dipole framework might suggest that electrons and photons interact in a fundamentally different way, yes, than the current theory predicts, potentially altering how light and matter interact, changing the predictions, scattering experiments, and particle accelerators. Yes, we got a particle accelerator. All you need is a Venturi. Modification is the standard models. No question, that's got to be modified. Electrons' role in the standard model. If electrons were shown to have an intrinsic dipole moment, which they do have, the standard model of particle physics, which describes all known fundamental particles except gravity, would need to be modified. Yes, gravity is the dark part. Because they can't explain this because they don't understand that that dark particle is attached to the glowy part. The electron's magnetic dipole moment, already well-known phenomena. Yes, they do understand it. Well, no, not the electrons. They understand dipole magnetic moments, but not in the magnetic moment of an electron, I don't think. But if a new form of dipole interaction were proposed, this could imply the need for new particles or forces that aren't accounted for by the standard model. All you have is a muon, electron, neutrino. That's it. Everything else is built on those two particles. New interactions. Dipole electron flood theory could introduce new types of electron interactions previously unknown. They have no clue about this stuff. It might lead to new physics beyond the standard model, similar to how the discovery of the Higgs boson expanded the standard model. We can make Higgs bosons on steroids. The theory could also explain phenomena not fully explained by existing theories, such as dark matter. I explained that. Dark energy is just a movement of dark matter through whatever's in front of it, or anomalies in quantum measurements. Yes, quantum measurements don't work because they're moving through fields that they don't even consider, like the speed of light. It slows down. We're saying all these things are pulling away from us because the galaxies are expanding. That's totally nonsense. The light coming to us is just slowing down. It's not because it's stretched out, because it's being pulled away. And all of that is so far wrong, it's just unbelievable. They know it's wrong, and they just keep going. Now, superconductivity revisited. Superconductivity simply means that the excess number of electrons that is in something that's warm are all gone. The colder you get is the more electrons that are just floating around and they're free, trying to find a place to live. And they're in this matter. So I have this bone. It is 70 degrees. All right. I bring this into a room that's 80 degrees. What happens to the bone? It gets to be 80 degrees. Why? I brought it in at 70 degrees. Why would it go to 80? Well, they say, well, it gets, the electrons start shaking around. I said, what do you mean shaking around? Why would they start shaking around? Well, they're warming up. Well, how does it warm up? Well, it shakes around. I said, no. No. Stop and think. This thing is absorbing extra electrons that are in that room. It's absorbing them. It's saying, okay, I'll take some. I'm cold. I could use some of those. And it takes some in. And guess what? It gets heavier. This is no question whatsoever, 100% certain fact. When something takes on extra electrons, if it's not in a gaseous form, if it's in a solid form, it gets heavier. And I worked with the weights and measures department. There's no question that this is true. If you bring something in to be certified for weights and measures, a calibration weight, you have to leave it there until it becomes the same temperature, normally they say 24 hours, in that room. Because I worked with them and I understand this very well. I have my own seal. I can stamp and seal weights to certify that they're accepted for trade, which means that they weigh correctly. But you had to bring the weights up every now and then. You have to leave them up for 24 hours. Then they certify them and they add a little of something or scrape something away. It depends if they're good or bad. And then they calibrate them. You take them back and you can use them to seal. So weight is electrons. The dark part has weight. An electron is the black and the white together. The white has no weight whatsoever. So if you can get the white away from the black, you can make free energy. And we did it for free. It just squirts right through the white instead of being black with it. The white squirts out. That's what you need. Now, superconductivity just means that all of those extra electrons that this thing would either have are completely gone. There's not one single extra electron in there. And it goes to a certain absolute zero, it's called. That means absolute zero extra electrons. Well, what does that mean? It becomes superconductive. Why? Because any electron you put, you gobble it up like it's, hey, I'll take it, bring a whole bunch more. And it'll take as many as you can get quick, instantly, and then it stops. Well, it doesn't stop completely. It starts to resist. And then it just gets warmer and warmer and warmer unless you continue to drag out those electrons. So superconductivity just means you continue to take the extra electrons out that you're putting in. You're not getting anywhere. Superconductivity just doesn't work. You're never going to get superconductivity. It's just, I can't see it ever happening. I could be wrong. Room temperature superconductivity? No, impossible. You got to take the electrons out. Now, the quantum materials, that's all going to change. Quantum spin, all change. Possible unification of forces. Yes, they're all unified. It's all the black and the white particles pulled together. And the strong nuclear force is just the black and the white attached together, is solidly one together. The weak nuclear force is where you have a center core of black, and way out on the outside you got floaters. And those are the things that attach to other atoms which turn into molecules. But they're not so tight to the core that they're strongly attached. They're weaker. Gravity is the core. It's the dark matter. Everything goes to the core. Now then we got a new cosmology. Dark matter, all that stuff changes because of dipole electron flood theory. Formation structures of the universe. Yes, it's all matter. And I guess I didn't show you Bennu yet, but you go and see it. Conclusion. If dipole electron flood theory were to be proven true, it could have profound and wide-ranging consequences in physics. Everything. Revolutionary shift in our understanding of quantum mechanics, particle physics, electromagnetic, possibly cosmology. However, such a shift would also require substantial rethinking of established theories, experimental verification, rigorous testing, peer-reviewed research. I'm blocked 100% from everywhere. I can't speak at Fermilab, who I have tried to contact. I made every effort nicely, and then I got nasty, and we're in that nasty mode. All right, so peer-reviewed research. Just as quantum mechanics and relativity changed the world, it was for the bad, because relativity is totally wrong. Quantum mechanics just needs a complete overhaul. Changed the world in the early 20th century. Major breakthrough involving dipole-electron interactions could unlock entirely new realms of physics. Yes, it has. Potentially unifying new forces and helping explain unsolved mysteries in the universe. Yes, gravity, dark matter, life in space. All right, that's what we're going to miss if we go to automated indoctrination tutors. Unless you allow this to be taught in the same, chat has to come around and say, all right, Roger, let's see your information. Let us display this for you, because nobody else will look at it. They have been nice. They've been, oh, yes, he's wonderful, but we don't have any information. No, there's no proof. Yes, I have all the proof. It won't be looked at. Chat, you should be the one that looks. Say, okay, Roger, you're right. They won't look at your stuff. Show us to us. Let me present it to people and see what they think. And we'll present it alongside a Khan Academy. All right? So this will be a tale of two unis. A tale of two universities. Well, actually, it's a tale of two universes, to be perfectly honest with you. All right, I want to make this absolutely 100% crystal clear. I am not against this AI tutors thing. I think it's fabulous. And kids are more predisposed to, their anger. They can put it into text and so forth. And they can see who's in trouble mentally. The teachers will be able to see, they'll be interacting with their tutor, which is not a real person, so they won't have a lot of conflict, let's put it that way. So the kid can interact and send out his emotions, and I would imagine they would encourage that, so they can find out, is this kid got trouble? What's going on in his life? I mean, it's kind of intrusive, but I think that could be very helpful. And the other thing is that the teachers will know who's engaging with the science, basically, which is right now you're just sort of droning through it. I want somebody to say, wow, they're saying this, Roger's saying this, what's going on? What should I take away from this? Because I'm going to tell you right now, what they're saying, I don't go along with 99%. It's just not right, as far as I'm concerned. And I can show the evidence. So when they say something and they say, here's our evidence, I say, here's what I'm saying, here's my evidence. Then you let the student make up their mind. But if I'm not part of this process, and my evidence, as they keep saying, oh, he doesn't have any evidence, I have more evidence than anybody in the world right now. There's nobody can stand up to me with the evidence I have. Not a single person in the entire world. I don't care who they are. Fermilab, CERN, Peabody Museum, Harvard, I don't care. Yale. It's time to just knock all that stuff down. Straighten it out, and you get some reality on the table. Now, if you don't want reality, good for you. If you want to see it and think about it, good for you. I'm not hard to get along with. I just want my stuff on the table, and not to say, we don't want to confuse the kids. We don't want to show this stuff even though you have all this evidence. We don't want to confuse people and make them lose faith in all this nonsense we've been teaching them. Well, it's time to lose faith in it. I'm sorry, it's just very, very frustrating after this many years dealing with these highbrow institutions that they couldn't care less. Absolutely no interest whatsoever in truth or how it affects people. It's all about them. That's all I found out. You tell me I'm wrong, I'd love to see the evidence. All right, so I love you all. I want to be part of this. If I'm not, this got to go down. This is no good. This is just automated indoctrination. I call it AM, automated menticide. Let's just think about it this way. Let's take devil's advocate. Is academia here to help the kids and do good things, or is it there to help themselves? Well, I say it's strictly a systemic attempt to destroy the human mind. And it's called menticide. It's a term that refers to a systematic, which is all the universities do the same thing. I don't see any of them that are innocent. systematic use of psychological intervention and judicial perversion. Well, what is judicial perversion? It means they tell you what you have to say and do, or they will destroy your life. That's judicial perversion right there. That's what a teacher does. He says, if you don't say what I tell you to say, I'm going to fail you. If I fail you, you're going to fail in life. What would you like to do? It's judicial perversion to control the minds of the victims. The goal of menticide is to either destroy the victims or use them for propaganda. They're being used as financial tools right now. This is the most devious, perverted system of education of anything I've ever seen in society. They force the students. They haven't brainwashed, first of all, to say if you don't go to college, you're done. You're just out there in the sheep in the woods and run around and dig dirt and all day long because you're never going to get anywhere if you don't get a college degree. Everybody feels that way. They just all feel that way. I did too. So they got them under that judicial perversion. You come to us or you're done. But guess what? When you come to us, you better bring a whole truckload of money. And then we might accept you. Can you imagine? We might accept you if you meet our criteria. In other words, if you're smart enough, we'll take you. So if they take you, you consider yourself smart right off the bat. Oh, well, boy, they think I'm smart. This is great. So then you go to that college. And the first thing you walk through the door and the guy says, hey, you say what I tell you to say or I'll fail you. And I'll ruin your life. And of course, we're going to keep your money. So you better get smart and say what I tell you to say. And that's good. And then go around and just keep saying it to everybody. Even though it's stupid and it doesn't make any sense, it doesn't matter. You came to our fancy school, paid a ton of money, and now you can just go spout anything you want. People will think you're smart. And you think I'm kidding? Let me show you something from Yale. Okay, I think I showed you the physics and the quantum light experiments we did and light acceleration and all that. And really, we changed the standard model is now dipole electron flood. Now, this is Professor Shankar. I think I mentioned before, I just like to look at what everybody has to say. I don't necessarily agree with anybody. And 99% I don't agree. And I don't agree with him either. But he's just saying to the kids, you say what I tell you to say, and then everything's good. If you don't, you're probably going to fail. Now, he doesn't tell them about the failing. He just makes a joke out of this whole thing, that you're here just because you, for no reason, basically, because he's telling them, I don't know what I'm doing, and you don't know what you're doing. Nobody knows what they're doing, so just say what I say, and everything will be fine. And you think I'm kidding? Watch. Now, don't forget, I went to the University of Geneva. I interacted with the professors. He wouldn't interact with me. I tried to tell him, I said, I found all these particles you're talking about. And you guys got it wrong. Of course, I never heard back from him. But here's what he has to say. Listen to this. And he seems like a nice guy. And he's being honest more than anybody else. Listen to him.
So this is a very exciting day for me, because today we're going to start quantum mechanics, and that's all we'll do till the end of the term. Now, I got bad news and good news. The bad news is that it's a subject that's kind of hard to follow intuitively, and the good news is that nobody can follow it intuitively. Richard Feynman, one of the big figures in physics, used to say no one understands quantum mechanics. So in some sense the pressure is off for you guys, because I don't get it and you don't get it and Feynman doesn't get it. The point is, here's my goal. Right now, I'm the only one who doesn't understand quantum mechanics. In about 7 days, all of you will be unable to understand quantum mechanics. Then you can go back and spread your ignorance everywhere else. That's the only legacy a teacher can want.
Exactly. Go, just say what I tell you to say. You get a good grade, everything will be fine. Just bring out a bunch of money. I'll give you a piece of paper, you go get a good job. Everybody will think you're a genius. They have no idea what they're doing, and none of them do. I mean, I've never seen a level of incompetence in these professors. They're so arrogant and incompetent and obnoxious. It's just unbelievable. It's time to just allow my stuff to be shown. He's saying nobody gets it. No, well, I get it. I show it. I don't just get it. I can show it, and it makes sense. Everything they show makes no sense whatsoever. It's all this gigantic formula, but trust me, I did all that stuff. It's just the most boring, ridiculous stuff. And I realized that I'm just doing nonsense here. And when I confronted the professor about it, they really gave me a hard time. But I won because I could do everything that they couldn't do. I made him give me an A. He said, I'm not going to give you an A. I said, yes, you are. He said, no, I'm not. I said, oh, you watch. I said, here's what we're going to do. And I set up, and he says, I can't do it. I said, yes, I can do it. I showed him. He said, well, all right, I'll give you the A. You cannot deal with these people on their terms. They own the turf. And you come over and you say, wait a minute, let's talk about this. No, absolutely not. Don't ever talk about religion in their classes. Don't ever talk about mythology, ancient texts, ancient stories. That's just all nonsense. Those people are just... Everybody in the whole world had the exactly same story, but they're all crazy, every one of them. Well, I said, how come this guy is crazy and this guy over here is crazy? They never talk to each other. And they have the same story. Well, that's just built-in craziness. Oh, then now you're going into pareidolia. I say, no. You have PhD. You can't see what's in front of your face, my friends. And, you're perfectly happy deluded. I think that's what PhD stands for. And then they just tell everybody what they have to do. And sit up on their little high horses, and they get all their little awards and plaques and Nobel Prizes and all this stuff. Oh, we're so good. Well, I'll tell you what, if it was up to me, I'd send them all home, and I'd make Yale University specifically a place for where the homeless people could go and fix it up for them and get some good out of that place. What's coming out of there now is just nonsense, destroying society as far as I'm concerned. And if they want to talk to me about it and say, Roger, you can't say that stuff about me. Well, here's what I've shown. It's just, it's tragic, my friends. And when you put in this automatic menticide, this indoctrination that they're talking about, where if you don't say what the teacher tells you to say, they'll know right away, this guy's no good. You're done. It's a wonderful idea in principle that we can keep track of how everybody's feeling. First of all, that's the best thing, is to get their emotional feelings. There's so much trauma, absolutely devastating, and there's so much killing and fighting and division. And if we could just get a little reality and understand that this is a serious situation we are in. And this is not just for today, and everything's fine, you go home, go to sleep, and tomorrow's a whole new day. No, tomorrow is just another day in eternity. And there's things in eternity we just don't understand. And if you don't have any ability to speak of them, and because they're not peer-reviewed, we'll never know where we are. We'll be in the same place we are right now. Just go home. It's the only legacy you can want. Say what your teacher told you to say, and somebody will give you a good job. That's not what works for me, my friend. I love you all. It's time. I want to be part of this. If I don't be part of this chat thing, and con, I want you to spread the word. They are going to destroy your mind, brainwash you. You'll be menticided automatically. You just automatically be menticided. Menticide is not a good thing. I think I showed you exactly what menticide is. Systematic use of psychological intervention, including judicial perversion, where they're over the top. You say, you better damn do what I tell you, or you're done. And they can destroy your life. They can do whatever they want to you. And take your money at the same time. It's the most devious system I've ever seen. It's got to be just completely clean the table, start over again. Start this thing over. Yale, tear down this wall. I love you all. Goodbye.